Well, Lior, thanks for being here today, man. Excited to have you on and chat with you about the client lifecycle, especially about your particular place in that cycle and some of the services that you guys offer, but also just to get your perspective on some important questions in the industry and really just business structure and all this fun stuff. Because I don't know about you, but I find business building it can be super stressful. And ultimately, most of us are doing this because we need to pay bills and take care of our families and our people. There's also the opportunity to build something that's way bigger than yourself. And I think that's incredible. I'd love to hear about that for you as well. But let's just dive in and talk a little bit about you. So maybe you could, for folks who don't know you, tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the property management industry.
Sure. So I probably started as a lot of the folks listening here by reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I'd say I was privileged enough to read it at a very young age. I read it for the first time when I was 13, and this whole concept of you can take money from a bank, you can use that money to buy a property. That property would pay for what you owe to the bank, and you'll get some extra money out of it. And to me, that was a very interesting concept. So it really got me into this loophole of just reading crazy amounts of books on real estate and on personal development as well. So I pretty much read all of Robert Kiyosaki's books, all of them. And that led me to actually make my first investment when I was about 19 years old. I bought my first rental property in Atlanta, Georgia. But the fascinating thing about it is the fact that I bought it from Israel. So to those who don't know, I was born and raised in Israel. I recently moved to Miami for good about a year ago. But up until then, I was living from Israel, and this whole experience of buying a property thousands of miles away, trusting some broker you don't even know, buying property sight unseen, it definitely not something for the faint of heart, but it is something that you probably can do when you're young and stupid, or young, stupid, and brave. And to tell you the truth, looking backwards, it was by far the best decision I've ever made. So that was like my first step in the journey. Fast forward, I served almost 9 years after in the Israeli Navy as a naval commander, commanded hundreds of soldiers and officers. It was a crazy time. That by itself can, to your point about business, about building something, leadership by itself is a fascinating thing. Whether you're a company owner, whether you're a team leader, no matter which position you're at, is like it's building something. It's building something of your own, as you said. And it's exciting. There are so many things that we can talk about just on that topic, but we'll leave it maybe for another episode. But throughout that time, I kept doing real estate. I helped a lot of my fellow naval officers buy properties in the United States using some of my knowledge. And then when I finished my active duty service, I started working for a big investment firm in the United States, with that owner is actually based in Israel, that was doing a lot of SFR, single family rental properties, and built to rent at a time where built to rent wasn't this fancy, cool name. We just called it new construction, as it is. Yeah, not that crazy.
Mhm.
And I started there as their head of acquisitions, afterwards, vice president of business development, where I oversaw our entire operation in the United States. So in my time, we've probably built and sold 2,000 homes. I oversaw almost $200 million worth of acquisitions and worked directly with over 1,000 individual investors, mom and pop investors, the ones we as property managers serve today. Now, the thing that was very unique, or maybe a little bit stupid looking backwards, because we did shut that up. So I would say business function off after several years. But when I was there, we would actually take care of the owner relationships for all of the clients that we sold the property to and then refer to our property management partners. So we think of it as like an investor relations arm of your business, of your property management business that
Mhm.
we actually handled. So like every question that an owner had about should they sell their property, should they renovate, should they refinance cash out, any other operational questions as well, they would let us handle that. And we would turn to the property manager partner that we worked with at the time, and vice versa. If the property manager had certain things that they wanted to convey, so we would be there. That was crazy headache that we dealt with. This is why I said that maybe looking backwards, it was a little stupid, but it was the best learning experience for me because I sat on like this bridge between the property manager and the property owner and really conveying each one's needs and problems to one another.
Yep.
So we took on this role of a property manager without all the operational headaches, right? And just dealing with the owner communications. So I literally handle pretty much every aspect that you can imagine, from the good and bad up to creating thousands of spreadsheets and performas every time an owner asks to understand what's going on with their property because they don't know if they're cash flow positive, cash flow negative, and understand what they should do. So all these things eventually led to a lot of frustration on my end because it's so unscalable. There's no solution out there. We're making so many mistakes because everything is manual, getting also some folks frustrated because of that. And all this thing sounded so inefficient to me that I just like at that point I already knew that I have to do something about it.
Hmm.
So this was like my first, I would say, actual role in the property management space without being a property manager, but taking on a lot of those responsibilities. And fast forward after a couple of other exciting journeys and adventures that I had, this what led eventually to the birth of Blanket, to really be this platform that solves all those problems that I handled myself and was frustrated from, but to also really help all the problems that I kept hearing from all of my property management partners. So we worked back then 10 or 15 years ago with a lot of folks that we all know in the industry, like Lee Lee, Brian Jenkins. So these are folks that I've been working with for like many years ago. And a lot of the things that we ended up talking about in many cases was like the problems that we have in our industry. And fast forward with a lot of other property management partners that we work with, we kept hearing about this problem of owner churn, of how many owners are lost because of owner sales or owner experience and things like that. And this was really the biggest driver for the birth of Blanket, to really solve that problem and position property managers as more than just service providers, rent collectors, toilet fixers, really as something of value, as a trusted partner that can really help their clients, which are investment property owners, to get to their goal of building generational wealth, retiring financially safe, and all the things that they aim for in the long term. So that's, I would say, in a nutshell, a little long nutshell, but in a nutshell.
No, I love it. I love that you brought up just the kind of the journey, right? I think most of us start in property management in some place that we never really expect, right? For you, it was I'm going to buy an investment property and it's going to be crazy. And we all enter at different places, but somehow we all ended up where we are right now in this room, which is pretty cool. I'm excited to tell or to learn more about what you do here. So let's hop into some Q&A here, Lior. I am curious, as you think about this particular zone of preventing churn in relation to the owner life cycle, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you observe that PMs make that they really don't even realize they're making?
Yeah, I think to answer that question, we first need to set the stage for what are the reasons, the main reasons for churn, right? So it all comes down to two main reasons: owner sales and owner experience. Now, each one has its own sort of like subsets, but these are the two main reasons that also fluctuate depending on the real estate market. When the real estate market is hot and we're in a seller's market, we will see predominantly a lot of churn happening due to owner sales, because folks want to cash out, they want to take advantage of the increasing home prices, and it's a seller's market, so they have the power. When we're in a buyer's market, this is where owners start to pay more attention, because in a seller's market, everything is awesome, prices are increasing, rents are increasing, everybody's happy no matter what problems or issues we have. But when the market is like we have right now, there's sort of like more thought time to focus on what does not work, right? Like the issues that happen, and then they are the main thing right now because rents are not increasing like crazy. In some markets, they're maybe going down. Vacancy periods are longer. Days on market are longer. Prices may be also dropping in certain areas. And then as the owner, you start to really pick on those small things that you probably wouldn't mind, but now they're like a big thing. They're everything. So it also really depends on the market. So the things that we've seen in many cases, and I'll try to give an example from each one that lead to churn. So let's start with owner sales. I think the biggest problem that a lot of property managers make is like the inaction, the lack of taking action for staying top of mind for owners. Because
Hmm.
when you think about the relationship today, in most cases, it's what do the owners hear from us as their property manager? They either get an email when we need their money to fix something, or when their owner statement is ready, the one that they can't even read and understand. That's a relationship. And that's not a good foundation to build on top of a relationship where you can solve conflicts and stay happy, right? So we need more positive touch points, but more so to really fix the problem of owner sales. 50 to 80% of the problem of the solution to it is just making sure that all of your clients know that you can sell their property for them when they want to sell.
Yeah.
That's it. And you don't need fancy technology, you don't need crazy effects. All you need to do is to stay top of mind for your owners. And it's not enough to just tell them in the onboarding that you can sell their property for them, because fast forward 2, 3, 4 years after that, they wouldn't remember that. So you have to always be like there, whether it's monthly emails, weekly emails, you name it, but just staying top of mind and reminding them when you're thinking about buying or selling, I'm the go-to guy. I'm the one you should turn to, and I'll take care of you. And this can already solve probably 50 to 80% of the problem, because I'm sure all of our listeners can agree that there's a substantial amount of owners that tell them they're selling, and they're surprised that the property manager was even able to sell it for them. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. That's like the main thing we see. On the owner experience side of things, I think the biggest problem is lack of transparency about what's happening with the property. Because when you don't know exactly what's happening, you, like every little thing can turn into an elephant, can turn into a crazy big thing that you can solve. And think also about yourself as a property manager. We're so like as property managers, we're so like flying blind, because do you know if your owners are cash flow positive or cash flow negative? You don't, right? Because you don't have access to the other expenses that they're paying for. You in your property management software, you see the maintenance expenses, the rent, and all that, but you don't know maybe in many cases if they even have a mortgage in place or not. And if so, what's that mortgage? What those mortgage payments are? You don't know maybe what their property taxes are, HOA payments, insurance, and a lot of stuff that then when you have some kind of a conflict or owner calls you that very pissed about something, if you don't know if they're cash flow positive or negative, it's very difficult to handle that situation the right way, because you might end up solving the symptom and not the actual problem. And I'll
Mhm.
give an example. If an owner calls frustrated about a large payment they have to make to replace some kind of a broken, I don't know, water heater or something, if the owner is currently losing money every month, that's a very different conversation than if he's actually doing very good cash flow on his property. Because
Mhm.
if the property is not doing good in general, instead of trying to fix this situation right now, you can maybe tell them, hey, Ben, maybe you should think about selling this property. And if so, we can help you maybe even 1031 exchange it to a better one. Solve all your problems, get better cash flow, better appreciation potential. Problem solved, and you're happy, you're making more money. But if the property is doing good, so yes, you can focus on solving that problem. So the biggest problem that we see on the owner experience problem is the transparency on both sides. The owners don't know how they're doing, and the property manager doesn't know how their owners are doing, which leads to a lot of inefficient conflict like resolutions.
Yeah, no, I know a thing that was a misunderstanding on my part when I first approached the property management industry was this idea of agency or fiduciary responsibility. And I remember back in the day when I thought that I had to have an agent's license in order to invest in real estate. It's like, oh, I'm going to go do the agency test. And like many other people, I went through and I finally understood this is what agency means. And then after working in the space a little bit as a vendor, really clicking into this idea of fiduciary responsibility is, I think, a really key one. A little bit earlier today, I was on the phone with my investment broker. It happens to be my brother. And we'll just call him for my investment broker for the sake of this conversation. But
Mhm.
what I appreciate about every conversation that I have with my broker is that he is giving me professional advice on the basis of looking out for my best financial interests. And property managers have that same responsibility. However, I think it's not often a responsibility that we lean into, not because we don't care, right? Or not because we're not actually looking out for our clients' best interests, but because it gets deprioritized on the basis of, oh my gosh, I have 50 work orders that I have to deal with and 30 lease renewals that are in progress. And we got to send out all these documents, and I've got a team I've got to manage, and all of the everything. So, Lior, a question for you. How are property managers able to think about or even have conceptually this ideology of I am in the business of managing assets and providing professional services when there's so much else that's going on in the business?
Yes, it boils down to getting access to the data, generating insights from the data, and then offering recommendation and advice. Now, each one of these is a huge challenge and problem. And this is why a lot of property managers that we talk with, especially when they first see what our platform can do, they always say, this was the reason that I've never done that. Like it takes so much time. Like I experienced that myself back in the day at that previous company that I worked for. Every time one of our clients wanted to understand what should they do, should they sell now, should they buy, or in general, just to understand how their property is doing, I had to go get all their invoices, gather all the data from their property management software, make sure that it's also correct what they're getting in their owner statements, then put it all into a spreadsheet, put in the numbers, and then understand what's happening. And only then I was even able to start thinking what to do. And this whole thing sometimes can take a couple of hours at least. Now
Yeah.
multiply that by, I don't know, 100 owners, 1,000 owners, that becomes a challenge that you don't even want to get into. And this is where so like the biggest problems are happening. But is it possible? Definitely possible. And again, I was doing exactly the same thing. I was generating, so like gathering the data that I needed to understand how the property is doing. Some of the data I had to also ask the owner themselves, like, for example, understand how much equity they have. Let's say if the owner told me, yes, my plan is just to grow my portfolio to 5 properties, right? Okay, let's understand where you can get that money from. What's your disposable income? How much you can put aside every year? How much equity do you have in your existing homes? Are there any sources of funds that you can tap into? Now that we have that, let's understand how that can pile up in the next 5 years based on also your cash flow from existing properties and all of that. And now let's see if even if it's possible for you to get to those 5 properties, right? Even before we're doing anything actionable. But what you can do today is really have those conversations. Now, again, everything that I'm mentioning here requires time. That everything we want to do with our business requires time. And then it's a question of priority. But can we do it? Definitely yes. So the thing that we can do today, again, not even using any tech or blanket or whatever, you can create spreadsheets to at least gather some understanding on how every property and how every client is doing. You can then schedule a meeting with them to understand their financial sort of like capability, financial strength, right? And then you can ask them, okay, what are your goals from now till 5 years from now, 10 years, all the way to retirement? Are you like planning to just hold on to the properties that you have right now and you want us to help you optimize them? And that can, for example, lead to actions like, okay, let's see if we make it, if we maybe find you some kind of a different landlord insurance provider that can give you a cheaper quote so you can earn some extra, maybe a couple $100 in your cash flow because you'll pay less for your insurance premium. Let's maybe see if we can appeal for your property taxes. That's also an option. It's not that easy, but you can lower your property taxes potentially. Let's see if we can maybe renovate your property to increase your rent, right? And to increase your property value. So you have these two levers when you're thinking about optimizing a property. You have two levers: minimize expenses or increase income. And income is either cash flow, okay, or property value, which is also in the form of income that can be realized when you sell or when you refinance and cash out. So these are the types of things that you can, or conversations that you can have with your clients, but I would save that for when they are your clients, because these are the types of things that you can also introduce to prospective clients. If you join today, let's say I'm a property manager speaking to a potential client, I can tell them that when we start, we'll create the spreadsheet for you. We'll understand where are you at right now, and we'll help you build towards your goals. And we will be your partner to get there. And again, if it's optimizing your existing portfolio, if it's buying more portfolio, and if it's selling some of your properties, any path you take, we are here for you. So to sum it all up, the answer to that question is you can start by, first of all, gathering the data to understand what you can do, then having conversations with your clients about what they want to do, and then build out a plan on what you should do. Because each and every one of these actions, no matter which one you'll take, is a revenue opportunity for you, right? Because think of if you're optimizing and you're offering them to renovate their property, if you have a maintenance division or you're charging markups, that's an additional revenue stream. If you're helping them buy more properties, that's more units for you and more commissions. If you're helping them sell their properties, same thing, that's more commissions. So each action that you take will eventually bring you back the investment amount that you invested in terms of time when you think about it.
Yeah, and just to really buttonhole this, I think what it comes back to is that concept of scalability of time, right? In that scenario that you described of spending hours on end developing custom reports and pulling all the information together, and then actually being able to look at the information cumulatively and have the insights to then offer to the owner, that's a significant investment of time. And yes, it's possible to do that just based on the data that you have. Anyone can. It's just a matter of research. But is it the most scalable way to do it? Not really, right? And that's why all of these different softwares and platforms exist today. We're going to have the folks from Rent Engine on, I think, in a couple of weeks, and they're going to be talking all about leasing and why you could go and you could have an agent who you could pay to go and show a house and do all this, and they could come and bring you a handwritten notes from that time with the prospective tenant. Or right, you could automate things a little bit. You can use these different softwares to really elevate the abilities that you have. It's when talking about business development, I like to think of this idea of what's your secret advantage, right? What do you know or what do you have that you can do that no one else can? And when you're in a local market, that's hard, right? You may have four or five different people, and doing something like what we're talking about right now, using the technology that Blanket offers, can be that secret weapon that can really differentiate who you are and the way that you approach your management services. So I'd love to, with that transition, learn a little bit more about the services that you guys offer, specifically Lior. And after we go through that a little bit, I'd love to open up for a little bit of Q&A if anybody has questions. So please think of any questions that you might have about Lior's services. We're talking about it, and we'll drop them in the chat and discuss them. But so to pivot a little bit, Lior, I know there's several products that you guys offer. So take us through high level what those products are, and then maybe give us a little bit of detail.
Sure. So we have two packages, one called Retain and one called Grow. And again, as it sounds, very simple. Each one has a specific purpose. One is aimed at helping you retain your client, lower your churn rates, and keep your clients happy, and even help them think more like investors, I would say. I would be cautious, but yes. And the second part, the second package, the Grow package, is aimed at helping you increase your number of units and generate more revenue from additional revenue streams, whether it's commissions and things like that. Now, in each package, we have owner-facing tools and team-facing tools, the ones that your team will be using internally. The owner-facing tools in the Retain package is the investor dashboard. So this is a white labeled investor dashboard that gives your clients real-time performance metrics across all their properties. No manual data entry is needed because we pull all the data from your property management software. We pull data from public county records and national data providers. So we got their loan details, their property taxes, and all of that. So pretty much seamless. They just get in and they see how their properties are doing, what's their value, how much equity they have in their homes, all those things that I spent hours and hours on every client in the past just gathering the data for. So that's already done. You don't need to manually input any data, and they don't need to. And that enables them to, again, really understand how everything is doing, but also see the full picture. So that whenever that client that calls about that specific owner contribution that they need to make to fix that water heater that they broke, they'll have some context that will enable them to see that, yes, maybe I'm paying now these $3,000, but damn, my property appreciated in value for, I don't know, 50 or 100K this year or in the past couple of years. So maybe it's not that big of an issue, those $3,000, right? That really gives them that full picture. On the Grow package, the owner-facing tool is our investment property marketplace, which is also white labeled with your logo. And what it has there is off-market properties that we source for you in your area. So we've built a massive inventory network with hundreds of inventory partners that include wholesalers, turnkey providers, home builders, you name it, everything that's off-market that you cannot find on the MLS. And we filter it based on your zip codes. So that way, whenever your clients get into that marketplace, they can find properties that they can buy in your area that you will be the one managing it for them. So this enables you to add more units to your portfolio. On the other hand of that marketplace, this is also a good way to capture owners who want to sell. And then not only sell it for them and get that commission, but also try to sell it to one of your other clients. And by doing so, retaining the unit even though it's sold. And the platform does everything for you automatically because the two supporting, I would say, products to these two features, to the marketplace and the dashboard, are what we call our branded email communications. So these are emails that are sent out with your profile picture, your logo, your sort of like domain, that are based on sort of like the interactions or the platform features. So the marketplace, for example, sends every week hottest property of the week for sale in your area for your clients. And again, that's part of that. You remember the 50 to 80% of the problem, which is staying top of mind. This is exactly what it does. It reminds them every week that, yes, if you're thinking about buying and selling, this is who you should turn to.
And
And
what
on
I'm
the
hearing
investor,
is that's
yes,
fully automated. That's not something I, as a property manager, am having to go and initiate that communication or write that message. That's just happening completely in the background and going out to my list of clients who I already have built relationships with.
correct. I would add on top of that, even we have an AI algorithm. We call it our matching algorithm that actually chooses the right property for every owner based on their current portfolio and based on their buy box, the one that they fill out when they first visit the marketplace, and they tell the platform which properties they might be interested in the future, when would they be interested in buying a property, what's their timeline. And based on those two data feeds, it creates like a property profile for every owner. And then it automatically chooses the property that matches best for those needs in those weekly marketplace emails. So yes, you don't need to do pretty much anything. It's done on so like an autopilot. And on the dashboard, there are also emails that are going out and adding more positive touch points with your clients. For example, there are emails like a monthly report that shows them how much their property is appreciated in value. There are also another feature that we recently launched is our annual owner letter that you can set up, and it's done automatically for you. Technically, you just need to add your leadership summary, what you would like to convey to your clients at the end of the year. Maybe it's some kind of a summary of how you think this year has passed and how it performed, and what is your prediction for 2025. And you can use that annual owner letter to introduce maybe increase in fees or new services or things like that. And that report includes also an annual summary of how their portfolio performed, how much appreciation they gained, what's their equity position, how much cash flow they generated, and all of that. But also, it includes a summary of how their local market performed in terms of rents, property prices, occupancy, and all that stuff. And lastly, also all the legislation that has passed in that market and things that are in progress. So that way they can really understand everything. And that's also generated automatically for you. All you have to do is add your leadership summary to that. So all these things are owner facing. Team facing tools, also, we have two sort of like products within each package. On the retain package, we have what we call our like asset management dashboard, right? So this is a similar dashboard, but it's internally used that shows you all those metrics that Blanket has across all of your owners' properties so that you can see which properties are performing, which properties are underperforming, and then you can actually take actions. You can take actions, for example, reach out to owners that have a high maintenance to income ratio, meaning they're spending a lot of money on maintenance versus the amount of income they're actually generating, and then tell them, hey, Ben, maybe we should think about renovating your property because you've been spending a lot of money on this, right? And if you're charging markups on renovations or you have your own maintenance division, that's actually another revenue stream for you, but also an opportunity to make your client happy because you'll put an end to all their problems and all their headaches and even increase their cash flow and potentially their property value by renovating it. So like all these things are there for you to use. The insights are even generated for you. All you have to do is just take the data and just approach the owners with the right action that you want them to take. And that tool is specifically meant to help you. And this is the thing that I'm most excited about, to help you build the portfolio of your dreams. Okay. Think about a situation where all of your properties that your owners own are cash flow positive, are properties in good areas with appreciation potential. And all those things that normally it's very hard to get to because we're not doing these asset management activities. Now with the data, you can actually do that. You can reach out to all the owners that are losing money actually every week, that they're cash flow negative, and tell them, hey, let's 1031 exchange this property to a better one, maybe even to two if you have enough equity. So you can do a lot of these things and eventually build a portfolio of your dreams that all of your clients will be happy with. The last tool that we have in the retain package is our retention manager. And this is a crazy AI product that we've worked on the past 2 years that allows you to really understand what's the risk of every owner from churning. The way it works is the AI asks you several questions and it creates like a retention policy for you. Then it goes and scans your entire portfolio to give you that risk score of
Mhm.
every owner from churning, but also it calculates the client value, how much money this owner is actually making you in management fees, leasing fees. Think of like revenue per unit across all of their properties combined for 12 months. And then once you see, for example, owners that are at risk of high risk of churning, you can go ahead and activate the AI to generate a recommendation on exactly what you should do to retain this owner. For example, let's take an owner that has a property that's undergoing a renovation right now, and he also has a mortgage in place. So he's technically losing money right now, right? He's taking money out of his pocket, not generating income, and this might be a ticking time bomb. And the AI cannot recognize that and tell you something like, hey, Lior, you should send a link to the owner's pro forma, because one of the features that we have in the investor dashboard is a pro forma that shows them the long-term potential of how much money they can make. Send them a link to his pro forma to see that this is a good property and they should hold on to it, but also waive 2 months of management fees, which again, it wouldn't sort of cover that loss, but it will show the owner how much you are committed to their success and to their financial well-being. So this is the type of recommendation that the AI can generate to you by showing you also all the data that it used for the calculation. And then it can also draft you the actual email that you want to send out or a phone call script based on your tone of voice. So it can take that entire workflow of retention from start to finish, and all you have to do is just call the owner or just send them that email. Just click send. So that's the retain package in terms of the team facing tools. On the grow package, we have a very basic CRM that is mainly used by folks who don't use Lead Simple or Aptly. But if you do have other CRM softwares that you're using, we can just integrate our own mini CRM to your software, and then you can manage all those leads from there. The leads that are managed there are buyer leads, seller leads, and things like that. And the last part of the Grow package that is team facing is what we call our referral management system. So this is where you can invite all of your agent partners or referral partners to be able to actually send you leads in a seamless way. But we also source and on a weekly basis, we send you top agents in your area that you can actually reach out to and get on a meeting with them and hopefully get them as additional referral partners. Those like agents come with a lot of information about them, from how many transactions they closed in the past couple of years, what's the price range of properties they're selling to understand if they're relevant for you or not. And a lot of these cool stuff that you or your BDMs can use to expand your referral network and generate a lot more referral leads, but also build a relationship with these referral partners. Because one of the other problems that a lot of our clients share with us is these referral partnerships, a lot of times they're missing on nurturing them, and these
Mhm.
agents disappear after a couple of years, or, oh, by the way, yes, I forgot that we're actually working together. So one of the things that the system also automates is these automated updates to that agent partner every time something happens with the owner on the platform. So whenever the owner inquires about a property they want to sell, about a property they want to buy, or anything else, the agent is updated. Whenever their lease is renewed, the agent is updated. So it keeps them in the loop. So that way they also, we also make sure that we are staying top of mind with our referral partners and not just with our clients as well. So again, just to summarize, I know it's a long one, but retain package, investor dashboard, branded email communications, asset management dashboard, and a retention manager. Grow package includes the white label marketplace, also branded lead communications, and the CRM and the referral management system.
Love it. There, you've given us a lot to think about here. There's a lot of different things that your product can do. I am curious, are there any weak points in your product where you say, you know what, we'd really like to get better at this part, and maybe you're even actively working on solving a problem, or any other places where you see opportunities within the current space that you guys are filling?
Definitely. I think it goes back to that problem we started with, time. This thing, even though it automates so many things for you, it still requires time. And this is something that in general I always say that when it comes to implementing a new software, no matter what it is and no matter how low touch it is and how automated it is, you need to put in the work. You need to put in the work to really make it work for you, because otherwise it wouldn't provide you the results that you wanted to. So one of the things that we are really working on hard is understanding how we can automate more stuff that can really make it seamless.
Mhm.
Plus, one of our, I would say, challenges is equipping your team, your property management team, not you as the company owner, with the abilities and knowledge to really master this whole switch in perspective to an asset manager, right? Because a lot of our property managers on our team maybe never invested in a property, right? They don't necessarily know all the terms and things like that. So one of the things we're adding right now is sort of like an academy, right? Like a glossary of terms that both the owners and your team can actually go to and really understand what everything means. So definitely one thing that we can improve on is equipping your team beyond the tech platform, equipping them also with the knowledge that is required to really be pros at this and to really be able to use the different features like a true power user and not something that requires some friction in the beginning until you like we want to lower or shorten the learning curve. This is what we want. This is one of our biggest, I would say, challenges and goals that really goes again back to that point of time and knowledge.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, the whole idea of implementation, there's the software piece, but there's also the people piece. And I think the people piece is far more significant than any software provider really wants to fully say, because, oh, here's my great tool, and then just snap your fingers and it's going to be amazing. But the reality is, yeah, it takes time and dedication and training and understanding and ability and having the right people in the right seats and all these important things. So kudos to you for
Exactly.
recognizing that and continuing to work on it. I hope you guys find some awesome solutions there. Hey, everybody. Thanks y'all for being here and for listening. Glad to have you guys. Lior has really done some awesome things in the industry for just really creating a product that hasn't previously existed before. Nobody's doing this, which is one of the cool opportunities here that Lior has for his team, right? This is a bit of a blue ocean, and there's all kinds of cool things to do, and they're super receptive to feedback. Lior, if anybody does want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to do that?
If you're interested in seeing the platform, so just visit our website. It's blankethomes.com. You can schedule a demo with Ben, our partnerships manager, but you can also DM me directly, whether it's on LinkedIn or anywhere else. I'm very, I would say, very responsive. And you can also feel free to just reach out to me with general questions. It doesn't have to be blanket related, brainstorming about how to be more of an investment manager, other lessons learned that I had in the past, experience with how to be more so like of a trusted advisor to clients. This is really my passion. This was the thing that I've been doing all my life. So feel free to just reach out to brainstorm a little bit about ideas. Even if you're not a blanket client, I would really be happy to help.
Awesome. Lior, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And thanks everybody for hopping on today. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us here at Processes Made Simple. See you, everybody.
Yay. See everybody. Bye bye.